one of my giftings is to do things well. So when I was a train wreck, I was doing that very well. I was destroying my life at a very fast pace.
Wow.
But whenever that switched, then those same giftings that were already in me began to be used in the right direction. And that's when I began to see blessing and began to grow and began to advance. And it was hard, but God was faithful through the whole thing. And so he opened doors. We all have opportunities come our way.
We do.
We live in the land of opportunity.
We do.
And so it's not for a lack of opportunity that we fail.
Come on. Yeah.
So we fail within our own, functioning.
When it's left up to us.
Yeah.
When we leave it all up to ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think to your point, that's where failure is kind of birthed and dies, is right there. Yeah.
And so we had an opportunity come our way to purchase a business, and we almost didn't do it.
Well, that's a risky thing too, right?
It's scary. We had no idea how to run a business.
Come on.
I knew how to add and subtract.
Was this 2000? What year was this?
This would have been 2008.
Wow, just before the crash.
Right during a recession.
Wow.
Which I think was part of the reason the business sold to begin with.
That makes sense.
It wasn't doing great.
So you bought a business that was doing what, $250,000?
About $250,000 a year with 2 or 3 people.
In 2008, so at the head of the recession.
Yep. So we.
How in the world did you make it through that? Especially being new to servicing people's household, because you're working residential primarily, right?
Yes, it was primarily residential, and fortunately, the business was run by a couple that were solid.
Good.
Very solid people, and the customers that they had loved them.
That's huge.
And so
service number one.
Yeah. So we had customers that like, hey, this couple that you purchased the business from put our air conditioner in 20 years ago. And here we are back now to you to see if you can offer the same level of commitment that they did.
Well said.
And so it was really good. It wasn't a lack of the phone ringing. What was interesting too, and this is the way the Lord works, that winter was one of the coldest winters we'd had on record in a long time. And I wasn't necessarily that great at heating and air conditioning, though go hand in hand. They are vastly different.
They are, yeah.
And so I had worked on tons of air conditioners work in a city that's
and we're in South Texas,
90% air conditioning.
Yeah,
we don't
use our heaters very often.
Doing that. So the Lord was really faithful. We had just a lot of the business just started taking off because of the reputation of the business. So that's kind of a lesson in that. If you're going to buy a business, do research the reputation.
That's a big deal.
Talk to people. Really dig down on that. That was a big deal for us, and so it was a healthy business, but it was run by a couple of folks initially that really weren't trying to grow beyond what they could handle themselves, and they had forged out a real nice living for themselves.
Capacity.
Yeah,
we talked about this earlier
thing.
About having. We can create something to the point where we feel ourselves comfortable.
Yeah.
We've reached that level, that salary, that dollar amount that we wanted to bring in. We've hit that. We're at a place. I wouldn't say complacency, but we're just at a place where we're comfortable.
Well, and that's a pitfall. It's a trap of business, is to try to find a place to status quo yourself.
Sure.
And nothing can sustain itself at a status quo.
Yeah, if you
always have to be growing, not necessarily always growing in numbers and volume.
Try to scale it. Yeah,
that's not necessarily the thing. It's deeper than that. It's growing as a person. It's growing. Obviously you want to increase in business, but you don't have to go crazy.
Yeah, well said.
Small increases, small incremental growth per year is fine if you're not wanting to go shoot for the stars.
I once heard someone tell me, "Yeah, we're not trying to grow. We're not trying to grow our business."
Then you're trying not to grow.
Well, and that in turn, that was us, I think, calling on an engineering firm, needing some work done. And sorry, we're just not taking on new customers. We're comfortable where we are.
Yes.
In my brain, immediately was thinking, that's a company that's going out of business. At some point, it's going to realize they need to always be trying to add new clients, take good care of the ones that they have. But eventually, those ones that they have are going to fall off at some point.
Well, business intrinsically is not linear.
Yeah,
it's angular.
That's good. Yeah,
so either you're angling this way or you're angling that way.
Yeah,
and there's no middle ground. Let
me ask you something. So you went from $250,000 in revenue, not really knowing what you just bought into, other than the fact that you knew you would kind of secure. In your mind, you saw the couple that was running it. You're like, well, they have a healthy lifestyle. It's better than what I have. That's appealing.
Yep.
If we could buy that and maintain that, hit that level, that is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you far exceeded that. You far exceeded
We
that
did.
within what, 10 years?
Yeah. The business started growing immediately. So the first 2 years, we doubled the first year.
Wow. How many people what did you have to do? Did you have to add a bunch of people?
Just a couple.
Okay.
So luckily, the lady that had operated the business, her husband had passed away, so he was the field guy. She was the office gal.
Right.
And so she stayed on with the business.
That's very good.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
When that can happen, when you have one of the superstars of the business that wants to stay, and she didn't like say, "Hey, I'll stay on if you want." She's like, "I'd love to stay on."
That's great.
And I said, "I'd love for you to stay on."
That'd be a big deal. Yeah.
And so she was really the voice of the organization. And I just took the role of the guy out in the field.
Wow.
And so we added one technician, one truck. I remember I bought my first truck and a little Ford Ranger.
You don't still have it kicking around the yard somewhere, do you?
Absolutely not. I was not married to any of the stuff
good.
of the business.
Yeah, that's good.
It was all a vehicle.
You're
for
able to let
something.
go of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely. And so the business started, functioning well and growing. And eventually I was able to take a salary. About 6 months in is whenever I took a salary.
Sure.
So it was really tough until that point. We really just wanted to reinvest back in the business, make it strong. And until we had that established, my wife was coming out of corporate America and moving into just really back office work with the business. She just handled the books.
Which is a big part of the business.
It's huge.
Yeah.
You can't trust anybody more than you can trust your wife
Your own,
and
yeah.
to handle that. And
That's
so
right.
we just started embarking on, every day was something we had never done before. And so if it weren't for the Lord, really helping us, guiding us,
Well, you had
we didn't even want to buy the business. We weren't looking to buy anything.
Well, it's a big risk, man.
Yeah.
We
were working on a job and the neighbor came over and said, "Hey, I've got a guy that's trying to sell his business. Are you interested?" And I was like, "No,
Wow.
leave me alone. I'm trying to do a job here."
Isn't that wild to think about it? How
Within 15 minutes, he had the guy over. And it was like, and so long story short, we did the deal,